Welcome to J House, where we interview people we admire who have developed skills and created cool things. We want to learn from their experiences to inspire us in our lives.
Today, Caleb and I are learning from Chris Ulmer, who created the nonprofit Special Books by Special Kids. It's also called SBSK. Chris travels the world interviewing kids and adults with different disabilities so they can share what life is like for them. So we already talked with Chris about empathy, but we wanted to share with you some of the lessons we learned from him about overcoming difficulties. Before we jump into that, I wanted to just share with you and Caleb a little bit of what Chris has said in telling his story of how he started Special Books by Special Kids.
So I made it my mission after 3 years of working with the same group of students to show them to the world. So I had this idea to start a book series where I would collaborate with my students and the world could understand life from their perspective. So I started writing with them and I would just write down exactly what they said and I sent it off. I made a nice packet, sent it to 50 publishers and received 50 rejection letters. Everyone said the same thing. There's no market for this. No one will be interested.
We saw that initially you were wanting to actually do a book. You said you went into 50 publishers and got turned down. What was that experience like, and how were you able to transition that from what may have felt like a failure into the idea of doing the videos?
So while people were turning me down, I would think to myself, my goodness, I can't believe these people don't get it. And I wouldn't let it deter me. I wouldn't feel sad. Instead, it would make me more motivated. So I think it's important to realize that not everybody's going to understand your dream or your vision, but it doesn't matter as long as you still believe in it.
What did you love the most about creating and sharing these interviews?
So I think the neatest thing is, number one, meeting so many people and making friendships with people all over the world. And number two, that we live in a time where we can share those conversations with people all over.
What did you have to learn to start doing the interviews?
It's so funny. If you go back and watch my first videos, the interviews I put up, I had no clue what I was doing. So I didn't know how to position the camera. And for our first 100 interviews or so, they're actually not even on YouTube. We just had a Facebook page. I would use my phone and my angle was bad. Half the time it was just like our nose and forehead. I didn't know where to look. So like half the time I'm just looking dead into the camera like this because I was so awkward. I wasn't used to being on camera. It was just a lot of trial and error. And what that means is doing it, watching it, saying, oh, wow, I did that wrong. Let me fix that. So when you start something new, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. When you make mistakes, you don't give up. You learn from it. So a lot of practice is how I learned to do what I do now.
Yeah, everything is like that. Trial and error, practice. That's how you get good at stuff.
With the piano too, I'm sure you do that.
Yeah, definitely. What are the biggest challenges you've faced?
So when I first started, the biggest challenge was that we didn't grow right away. I thought since I was doing something that I considered to be important, giving people a platform to share their story, I thought right away lots of people would care and lots of people would listen. But no, it took about a full year before we got any kind of momentum going. So the biggest challenge was keeping my own motivation when nobody else seemed to care, because it didn't happen at first.
What kinds of specific things did you do to try to keep positive and keep going?
I am big into physical fitness. So every day, that first year, every single day, I would run 5 miles. And when you have that constant supply of endorphins, it's hard not to be positive. And that's something you have to force yourself to do. Go run, go run. But I think that kept me centered and it kept me believing that it was possible. And I had a friend at that time, he was actually my neighbor, who would run with me. And I would tell him my goals and my visions, and he would reaffirm them. He would say, oh, that's definitely going to happen. How could it not happen? And there's going to be people who tell you not to pursue something, not to dedicate so much time to it. But if you have a goal and you truly want to accomplish it, surround yourself with the people who reaffirm it. Since I was with that friend every day and we were jogging and being healthy and getting the endorphins, and then he would reassure me during that time, it made me believe it was possible.
To do interviews full-time, you had to leave your job as a teacher. How were you able to have the courage to take that leap of faith?
I had saved up about, I think around $10,000, which is a lot of money. But for an adult, that'll run out quickly. That's a few months worth of reserve right there. But I thought to myself, okay, we have a chance to do something truly special. And if it doesn't work out, I love teaching. So worst case scenario, I start again at square one and start teaching again. Best case scenario, we're going to tell the stories of people from all over the world and give them a platform to share whatever they want. So when you look at the risk like that, it's not that big of a deal. So I have a very analytical way of looking at risk, and it just didn't frighten me.
What advice would you give kids who want to start doing cool things like the videos you make, but they're scared they're not good enough?
Do it. You don't have to be good at first. Anything I've done, I couldn't play guitar for months. I couldn't create videos for months. Teaching was hard at first. Anything is hard at first. So I think a lot of people try something and then they quit when they're not instantly good at it. My number one piece of advice is be okay with being bad, because after you're bad, you're okay. And after you're okay, you're good. And after you're good, you're great. So accept that and just create until you're great.
How do you think soccer impacted this drive you're talking about of a willingness to keep trying and has impacted your career that you're in right now?
It's funny because it's probably counterintuitive to everything I do and everything I stand for. But the best piece of advice a coach or teacher ever told me was, you're not good enough for this team. Why even try out? And that was my freshman year of college, the college soccer coach I had. And when he said that to me, nobody was ever that blunt with me. I was so motivated, and it lit a fire under me that I didn't even know was possible. And it took my game to a whole new level. I started playing at a level I didn't even know was possible. My second year, I became the captain of the team because that fire never went out. So I think with that experience, realizing that somebody who is paid to analyze you, he analyzed me, told me I was horrible, and I proved him wrong. Realizing that you don't have to buy into the opinions of others was so vital.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Do you want me to grab the guitar while I tell the story?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
I have it right over here. One moment. My guitar is never too far from me. So growing up, my first dream, my first goal I ever had wasn't to be a soccer coach. I wanted to be a rock star.
Caleb wants that too.
I love singing.
What kind of bands do you like, Caleb?
Oh, 21 Pilots, Hamilton.
Imagine Dragons you like.
Yeah.
So for me, when I was in high school, I loved the Foo Fighters. I loved Green Day. So I wanted to be a rock star just like my heroes. So I never really took lessons. I just picked up the guitar, started playing, and taught myself a little something every day. And that's the cool thing about being a kid today. You can just go on the internet. You can find the chords to one of your favorite songs. And within a few minutes, you can play it. So I am envious of you that you get to grow up in a time where you have so much information. But then when I was a teacher, I brought in my guitar. And at first, it was just fun. I would randomly bring it out when I saw my students were getting bored. And instead of doing a normal lesson, I would just stand there and in 1776, America was founded. And I would give a lesson with some chords in between. Now, I can't sing. If I could sing, I probably would have sang. But if I sing, you would kick me off of your podcast right now. But I found that when I played the guitar, my students listened a lot more. So I brought it in all the time, and we had a lot of fun with it.
I wish everybody did that. Whenever kids were bored in every single school,
start singing and dancing, playing the guitar.
Like, they start singing.
It would be like a big musical, right?
Yeah.
It'd be fun. Do you have any final advice for kids who are trying to overcome challenges as they develop skills or create cool things?
Yes, I would say don't be intimidated. It's so easy to look at adults and think, wow, they know what they're doing. How do they do that? I can tell you for 90% of the time, I have no clue what I'm doing, and I'm figuring it out as I go. The best thing you can do if you want to create something is just to start, not to be intimidated. Because honestly, I'm a goofball. If I can do it, anyone can.
Chris, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us today. If you liked what you heard, we'd love for you to leave a podcast review.
As we're starting this podcast, we want to thank everyone who has left a podcast review, and I wanted to just read some of these reviews. We're so grateful for what you're saying. Smile Miley said, "This was an amazing thought-out podcast. I'm so inspired, and I can't wait for the next one." Goody Two Shoes ALS wrote, "I truly enjoy the in-depth questions, which help us see those interviewed in ways we couldn't expect. The positive real-life concepts discussed are helpful and uplifting. Great job, J-House." Unicornia 067 gave a 5-star review, said, "Love it so much. It has so many facts about people's lives and their struggles for kids to inspire them. Please make more content. I absolutely love it." We so appreciate these podcast reviews, and we hope that as you listen to our podcast, if you like them, that you'll go leave a review to help us grow this message.
To follow along on our family's adventures, connect with us at J-House Vlogs on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Thanks for listening. J-House out.